Hi, this is Jeff from Airstream Nerds, and this is my new solo stove. Now, I've seen these things talked about on Facebook groups that I'm in. I've seen them on the Airstream forums. I've seen people swear by these things, but I wanted to know what all the fuss was about. So I reached out to Solo Stove and asked if they'd be willing to send me a demo unit for my review, and they did. When I get back, I'm going to show you what comes in this box. I'm going to tell you my first impressions. I'm going to use it. I'm going to show you guys the results after I use it, you know, how much ash and stuff. And then I'm going to give you my final thoughts.
Airstream song, cruising to the campsite singing our song. Airstream song, we are the Airstream Nerds. Yeah!
This thing comes in the box, all plastic wrapped. The bag and everything is included. I've already taken out, obviously. There's styrofoam on top and the bottom, so it's packed pretty good. I've already taken it apart, and I've already opened it, and I've already fiddled around with it a little bit. The bag, real heavy-duty nylon that I think is going to last for a long time. Not like some things you get in these bags that are really thin and they rip at the seams like the first couple times you use it. So, stove has a bunch of little pieces, not really pieces, literally manuals and stickers and such. So here we go. This is your solo stove. Right now, they all come with the base. What this allows you to do is set it on something such as a deck or something like that, and the heat is supposed to, and we'll test that later, the heat is supposed to not burn stuff under there. That's why this piece is set up like that. And then you have the fire ring, which when you're using it, it sits this way. When you're storing it, it sits upside down. So this thing weighs in at 15 pounds. It's really not that heavy. It's literally like a big cook pot with a bunch of stuff inside of it. It is 15 inches by 12.5 inches. Now I don't know what the added height is. All right, so like I said, 12.5 inches tall without the base. When the base is included, it's 15 inches. So literally 15 by 15 diameter by 15 pounds. So they like the number 15. It is made out of 304 and 430 stainless steel, and you'll burn wood in it. So like I said, this is what they call the fire ring. I showed it before. That position is for storage. This position is what they basically use this for is it's keep the fire centered in the solo stove, and it also keeps it even. Now the way this thing works, I'm taking this off so it's easier, and I'm going to take it off the base so it doesn't slide off while I'm moving it around. But basically, you can see that this part here, which is essentially I want to say 8.5, 8 3/4 from the bottom here to the side here. So that's how much space you have for fuel. And remember what we said is 12.5. So you got 4.5 inches of space underneath this tray here. And this tray is where the wood sits. You have the ash goes down below that, but it also, with the holes down here, what that allows is the oxygen to flow up through the bottom here and also through the holes here. And with the ring on, everything kind of has this convection thing as it comes up and it curls around. And that also is what keeps the smoke from way down, because it essentially burns it all as it goes. Like I said, the precision base plate is what they call this part. Now I'm reading all this stuff, and this is what it does is it allows the oxygen to be fed directly to the embers from below, like I showed you, from the holes here. The ash pan, that's that 4.5 inches of space between the holes in the bottom and the base plate. And like I said before, the airflow goes in, comes up, heat rises, so you get this nice flow, circular flow, in which burns all your firewood and such. completely, and you end up with just a bunch of ash in the bottom. Now, one thing that we'll discover later is because it's all one piece and there is no cover or anything, I'm guessing to empty the ash out of this thing, it's like a big salt pepper shaker. It's all fine ash, and you just turn it upside down and shake the dust out. The holes here, if you look in there, which you can't really see with the camera, there is another plate right above this. So what it looks like is there is a lip on the bottom here that you can kind of, if you can see through the holes, you can see like a ring inside the tray under there. There is a slit under that. That thing is actually popped up a little bit because the airflow, while this is open, the air can go in and then comes out that middle there. Comes out like in that area. So why I'm saying this is, if you are shaking it or you decide not to clean it out after it's set for a little while and it's all cool, if you decide not to clean it out, you could end up with ashes coming out of these side holes. All right, next up, I'm gonna collect some wood and I'm gonna start the fire. But one thing you have to keep in mind that this Solo Stove, this Ranger model, it's a much smaller model, so you're not gonna be able to get commercial size pieces of wood. So if you're taking this thing camping with you, you're gonna wanna make sure that you gather wood that's 13 inches, 10 inches, something like that. From what I've read, 10 inches is a good size. So you're gonna wanna bring a saw or something with you and basically cut your wood up in half so you can burn stuff. Otherwise, it's not as efficient if your log is sticking out of the top. You're gonna end up with smoke. All right, before I start, I am going to use this infrared thermometer. I'm gonna get a reading from the base because I'm curious on how hot the base actually gets. So right now, it's showing 89 degrees, and I haven't started the fire. So the base is 89 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll see what it's like once we get going. Now I've already got my wood in there. I've got a little fire starter, a little bit of paper, some kindling in there. So let me go ahead and get this started now. Right now, fire's been going, I don't know, 7 minutes or so. Let me see what we got temperature wise. The base is still showing 87.8, which is pretty good. Now you see the little red dot right there. It's showing 103 degrees right there. So the outside of the can doesn't get as hot either, I suppose. Now, you saw how high I had the wood stacked in there, but I do have some sapwood in there, which is the dark smoke, and some newspaper. So maybe once the fire gets going, the smoke will rotate through like it's supposed to. So I just checked the base, and the base is still below 90 degrees. Believe it or not, I actually touched it with my finger. It's not hot in the least. Now the stand, they did say the stand is designed to elevate the fire pit away from heat sensitive surfaces such as wood decks, but fire pits burn extremely hot and hot air may still gather underneath, and use with caution at your own risk. So basically what they're saying is the base is made to not burn your deck down if you set this on your deck to burn it, but if it does burn it down, it's not their fault. So I probably would never want to use this on my deck anyway. It's straight up for camping. It's not for on my deck. Let's see. Now keep in mind that this is stainless steel, but it still will rust and it still will stain. So make sure you don't leave it out in the rain. It will discolor from the temperature of the fire. Stainless steel has an increased resistance to rust, but it's not rust proof. Keep that in mind. Literally, when the fire is done, dump it out, make sure it's cool, put it in the bag and put it away, and it'll last you probably forever. Alright, so maybe I have too much wood in it. It's probably some sort of exact science to getting the perfect fire with this, but I'm not really concerned about the whole smokeless thing. I mean, if you've ever been to any of these campgrounds, you know that every other campground you smell like smoke just being outside in the evenings, especially in the spring and the fall when it's cooler in the evenings. So I'm gonna let this cranked out, and once it gets settled down and gets a nice burn going, we're gonna cook some s'mores. All right, you're sitting here in a chair a couple feet away. You definitely can feel the heat off of this thing, just like you would a normal fire in a campground. It is pretty nice. All right, so I got this IR thing in the middle on the concrete underneath of this thing, and it's 89 degrees right now. 88.7, 89. So the base works pretty good. I'm pretty surprised, and we're getting ready to have some s'mores. So we're not at the campground, but we are sitting outside of the Airstream at our house. In this current environment, this is probably the safest way to camp right now. Now we're going to enjoy ourselves in front of the fire for a little while. When this thing is out and cool tomorrow, I will show you the final results. Fire's all done. It's been sitting out here for about a week. It's just been weather and other stuff going on. So everything is completely, out. There's no hot embers or anything in here. We had the fire right here. You can see, what you can't see is there's any sign of any fire being on the ground there. There's no scorch marks, no nothing. This thing worked great. As you saw earlier, the ring never got hot. About an hour after it was done, instead of leaving it here in the middle of my driveway, I grabbed it like this, picked it up. It's no hotter then than it is now, which is cool to the touch. That was awesome. I burned, after we started the fire that you saw, we added about 2 logs like this in there while we were cooking our s'mores and stuff. Now this stuff is from a tree that fell in the woods about 2 or 3 years ago. It's completely dry. It burns fast, but it still managed to burn for a lot longer than I thought it would. There's not a lot of ash left in this. As you can see, that's about all that's left of my fire. That's all there is. Just that little bit of ash. Now, obviously you probably wouldn't do this at a campground because it'd be like the next day or whatever, and you don't want to put something in plastic or put it in the trash. You want to put it in like a fire type container that will keep sparks and fire from happening. But now you can see the inside of this. It was nice and pretty and shiny, and this is what they say when they talk about discoloring. You've got some where the heat's turn the stainless steel different colors, blue and some yellow in there. There is some soot in there, but it's a fire pit. Who cares if it gets a little discolored? The top got a little discolored, but again, it's supposed to. This thing isn't going to be bright, shiny stainless steel the whole time you have it because you're burning stuff in there. I think it's pretty cool. I definitely appreciate Solo Stove sending this to me. I will 100% be using this. Maybe not at the campgrounds, only because most of the campgrounds we go to, or every campground we've gone to so far, have fire pits. But there are campgrounds in the area that don't have fire pits. We'll bring this, but we'll definitely be using it at home too when we want to camp out in the driveway like we did earlier this week. You saw earlier, the base is awesome. Again, they say use at your own risk, but as you saw earlier, this thing does not get hot with a fire that doesn't even register on the thermometer. We're also going to use this by our pool. We have a concrete deck by our pool, so we can put a bunch of chairs around it, sit out by the pool in the evening after a day of swimming or whatever, cook s'mores or just have a nice fire and BS around the campfire. It's all self-contained. Like I showed you earlier, you throw the base inside, you flip the lid up. It doesn't weigh anything, so it's not like you're adding that much weight to your vehicle or your camper when you're hauling it with you. It's easy to put away. Nice heavy duty bag, solid drawstring, handles. This is awesome. If you like my content, please subscribe, hit the like button, put any comments or questions below. Once again, this is Jeff from Airstream Nerds, and I'll see you on the next trip.